Today we're talking microgreens, particularly harvesting microgreens, and how Eric at Steadfast Farms harvests 50 trays a week and gets them to look like this. It's easy, it's simple, appropriate technology, and I think you're gonna like it. Stay tuned for that coming up in this one. In terms of a farm product, microgreens give Eric the advantage of beefing up salad mix and giving him a product to put into a CSA box. Sometimes when your field crops are behind or things go wrong in the field, it's nice to have these microgreens, which are short-term crops, that you can stick into a CSA box to fill out the box. Eric used to work at a farm where he had citrus and dates to put in the box. Those were kind of bankable items. Microgreens have taken the place of that and now provide another item that you can stick into that box to round out the selection that each one of the customers are getting. And on short 7 to 10 day cycles, you can switch around the crop pretty quickly, and you can grow crops pretty quickly if you do see things happening poorly in the field or something goes wrong in the field. You like using the greens harvester here on the farm for the field crops when you're harvesting greens, but you've also had success using the microgreens attachment for harvesting that way.
Absolutely, yeah. It's a small little bracket, so it stores easy, and we just pull it out, clamp it to the table, and then we can run our trays through. And with all the movement around of the trays, we can still, cut about a tray every 30 seconds, so it goes real fast for us.
How would you compare that to doing it by hand?
It's probably like a quarter of the time, as far as, so yeah, it's real fast, and you get a really consistent cut, which is really important.
Clean, and the product comes out pretty good, even going through all those the green fabric, the beater bars on it.
Yeah, no, it's amazing how easy it is. So yeah, it's super clean.
And then going from the more dainty stuff that you have here that looks like maybe it's a brassica up through peas or sunflowers, cuts pretty good on both.
Absolutely, yeah. We always start with a real sharp blade, and we run through our more delicate stuff first when it's at its sharpest, and then we work our way up into the sunflower and the peas last, because they're a little bit more fibrous, or just tougher in general. So we don't want to even dull the blade that tiny bit in the early stages. We want to save that till the end, and they cut easy.
All right, let's see how it's done.
Cool. So there's a few different adjustments. Most of them are height related, and then the angle on the table. So if you have like an angle issue with the trays, that you can compensate for it. So we always have to set it up in the beginning, and then we're usually good to go.
When you set the height on that, are you aiming for just above the plastic?
It depends on the crop. So on these brassica mixes, just above the plastic, so we get the maximum yield. But when we're talking about sunflower or pea shoots, we want to make sure we're above the holes of everything, so we're going to set it a little higher for that stuff. Yeah. So we're good height-wise, but I can see it's angled down a little bit, so I just turn this knob and I can level that out. We're good to go. So, and it's a real quick thing. So we try to go maximum speed and just push it through with quite a bit of force, keeping our hands nice and flat so we don't cut ourselves. And as you're cutting, this hinges, you just dump.
Yeah, so no disconnect.
Right.
Makes it fast.
Yep.
If you're wondering about the tool, here's what it is. This is the Quick Cut Greens Harvester. It's sold by Farmer's Friend. There's a link to that below. This part of it detaches from this bracket, which Eric has put it on, and that's what Farmer's Friend sells, the Quick Cut Greens Harvester. The drill, it's DeWalt, obviously you add that aftermarket, and then this bracket right here that Eric's using to cut the microgreens, or to hold the Quick Cut Greens Harvester to enable him to cut microgreens, that's sold separately. So that's also sold by Farmer's Friend. Two separate products sold by Farmer's Friend, but they go together. This is traditionally used for field crops, greens, things like that. This is the attachment for microgreens. If you already have this for greens in the field and you're doing a lot of microgreens, I think it makes sense to buy this thing and try it out it should work for you if you're doing any sort of significant amount of greens.
I was like, I wanted to give it another shot, and we were actually behind schedule, and so I just started pushing it through. I think another employee was actually doing it, and they were going really slow, so I was a little frustrated. So I was like, come on, and I pushed it through, and I was like, wow, it really
just sliced right through it.
Yeah, it was kind of counterintuitive, because I felt like, if you're having tearing issues going slow, then you're going to have it even more magnified by pushing it through faster, but it worked out really well. So
how do you approach microgreens in terms of variety, which you can grow, resisting the temptation to have 15 different things?
Well, microgreens are just an extra product. It's not our focus, and so I have to do things that I can do with relative ease and that are kind of just complementary. And so I got to stick to the things that are popular, or just like radishes are least popular for people. We do some daikon too, which is a little bit more popular, but it's the easiest to grow and it's our highest yielding one, so we might as well grow a little bit of it. And then the other ones kind of just they change out with like the trends, I guess. So broccoli became hot. All of a sudden we weren't doing that one before, and so we started pushing that more. Broccoli was in our kind of like our mix that we created different brassicas, but then we decided, okay, let's do it on its own. And the pea and the sunflower are very like approachable for people that aren't, they're super mild in flavor and sweet, and so people are less intimidated by them. But early on they were super popular with restaurants. We did a lot of wholesale microgreens, and that trend is kind of like falling off. I see, the chefs are tired of sprinkling microgreens on stuff, and they're moving on to the next thing, which is kind of how that goes. So most of our micros are all going to retail, and we offer them a variety each week in our CSA too, so people really like that. So
you ever find the need, people like Curtis, they'll put the pea shoots, the sunflower shoots into salad mix to beef it up if your field yield is low? You ever have to do that?
Yeah, we have our lettuce mix, but then we have what we call our seasonal salad mix, which is a combination of baby lettuce, which is the base, and then some brassicas, and then some shoots. So we always have those three, and that changes with the season. And so it's typically either going to be sunflower or pea shoots, just because like the radish and that, they just don't hold as long as the other greens. And so we don't want people to be picking out the radish shoots because they didn't last as long as some of the other things. Mm-hmm. So we stick to just the sunflower and the pea, and we actually don't put any of the shoots in our wholesale seasonal mix because the chefs tend to hold it longer, or they order in bigger bulk, and so that some of the last boxes we don't want people to have to pick out anything potentially. So we've listened to those restaurants and made those adjustments just to make sure that prolongs.
For your microgreens, do you have to wash them, or you just pack them up right from there?
We try not to wash them if possible, because I feel like they never get dry enough, dry again where we'd want them to be. So yeah, we try to package them up right as we go. And
your sunflower shoots here, they look pretty clean, not a lot of seed hulls. Mm-hmm. What's your process for dealing with that?
Enough lots of water so that they push those off. The variety, we use the black oil, which is pretty popular, and then we do that daily kind of brushing of them, which just knocks them off as they're growing. So yeah, we're just, those three things kind of make all the difference.
How many trays are you doing a week, micros?
We are doing, I think, 50 to 60 trays a week.
Okay, so it's pretty significant production.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, and it's just a kind of an adjunct for us as far as what we're doing. But yeah, it's just another thing that people can use. And we do a lot more microgreen production in the summer, when other things are a little bit more difficult to grow outdoors because of our heat. So we do probably double the microgreen shoot business in the summertime. So
because you can grow them indoors,
right.
Climate controlled.
Yep, exactly.
There you have it, a stack of freshly cut microgreens, all done by the Quick Cut Greens Harvester. I love the idea of that bracket. If you already have the Quick Cut Greens Harvester and you're using that for your field greens, getting that bracket makes sense, I think, if you're doing a significant number of microgreens. Honestly, looking at that thing, I would have had my doubts on it that it would have worked as well as it did prior to seeing it, but after seeing it, I think it works really well. It's smooth, it cuts clean, no problems whatsoever with it. So it'd be something I'd be doing and trying if I was growing 10, 20 trays plus microgreens a week. Eric's doing 50 here at the farm. It works for him. He's happy with the results. So check it out. There's a link to it below. Another way that Eric's really taken the simple approach to things is the growing of microgreens. This is his indoor climate controlled room where he's growing his microgreens here. No fancy LEDs, no fancy shells. These are just wire shells. These are probably $45 a piece. He can fit all his microgreen trays on here. He has normal fluorescent fixtures with T12 bulbs on them. They're not grow bulbs, they're just daylight fluorescent bulbs. They're not LEDs, so you can save a ton of money there. This whole setup makes things really cheap. And one other thing that I see that he's done really well that I like the idea of is he's actually poured concrete into some of his microgreen flats, and he uses those as the top flats to weight down his microgreens instead of putting bricks on it. This way you get a nice even distribution load and you're not wasting that many trays. You may only make 3 or 4 of them and they last forever. But really simple, like a lot of things here at Steadfast Farms. There you have it, Eric Schultz and the Quick Cut Greens Harvester for harvesting microgreens. I'm really amazed at how well this harvester works for microgreens. Now the harvester is one piece, you have to buy the bracket separately, link to both of those below. It does a great job, it's clean, it looks a little dicey shoving your hand under there, but other than that, it's a great job. If you already have this tool for field greens, it makes a lot of sense to potentially get this bracket. If you're doing a fair number of microgreens, Eric at 50 trays a week, it makes sense to get something like this. And as you saw, very fast. If you want to follow along with what Eric's doing, be sure to check out the link below to his Instagram. That's all for this one. Thanks for watching. Until next time, be nice, be thankful, and do the work.